Yeah, Kingsley. Can you tell me about yourself
Yeah.
shortly?
So, yeah, I have around 12 years of experience in IT industry.
Okay.
So, from the beginning, working in Java and related technologies, I worked on web-based application, mobile-based application, and
Okay.
right now I'm a pure backend engineer.
Okay.
So, dealing REST API and
Okay.
other stuffs.
Okay.
So, my current project is for Citibank,
Okay.
uh, working in payments module.
Okay.
And what we do is I'm migrating a monolithic application into microservices.
Okay.
So the technology stack what I'm using is Java 8,
Okay.
Springboot, and microservices.
Okay.
I use REST template and Theme client, and I connect with the database using MyBatis as a ORM,
Okay.
and I write JUnit test cases with the Mockito framework,
Okay.
and I have configured Jenkins pipeline using Docker,
Okay.
and I have contributed in Spring Security,
Okay.
and we use JWT tokens, and after building and deploying, I used to deploy my code into OpenShift container,
Okay.
and I have come across this Sonar Cube, and for log tracing, I'm using Spring Cloud Sleuth.
Okay.
Yes, this is what.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. We go for some technical questions. So first, I will ask Springboot. Okay. So can you explain the internal flow of Springboot? So how it is working internally?
Internally, Spring Boot. Okay. Okay. See, whenever we create an application,
Okay.
we use the main method will be annotated with at Spring Boot application.
Okay.
So inside at Spring Boot application, we have auto configuration, at configuration,
Okay.
at components. These three annotations will be there.
Okay.
So based on this, whatever the jars
Okay.
are available, it will this auto configuration will load
Okay.
the dependent jars
Okay.
and create the objects.
Okay.
And whenever we have created the configuration files,
Okay.
and all these configuration files will be read, and if we have created beans inside it, it will create an object for that
Okay.
also. So whenever it sees at repository, at component, uh, at service, everything will be loaded automatically, created objects.
Okay.
And this will be happening once the container is get loaded.
Okay.
So whenever we hit an endpoint, the endpoint URL will be hit, and it will go to the controller class, rest controller class,
Okay.
and it will go to that endpoint. If the endpoint will lead to that service class, the service class will lead to the repository class.
Okay.
The repository class will go and hit the database and get the information, and we'll get the response.
Okay. Fine. So can you list out some Spring Boot starters? So what are the starters available in Spring Boot?
Spring Boot starters.
Yes. For example, Spring Boot starter web, like that.
Yeah, you mean those dependencies?
Yeah. Those artifacts. Can you list out
Yeah.
what are
Yes.
the artifacts available?
For initially for creating, I used to create. I used to create using Spring Start.io.
Okay.
In that, I will add the dependency web and Spring Boot starter
Okay.
dependency,
Okay.
and This for developer purpose, I used to download, add dev tools.
Okay.
And Spring MVC.
Okay. I think
Sorry,
MEC
web,
required. Springboot.
web.
Okay.
Sorry, web. Yeah, these three items are very minimal requirements.
Okay.
So if this is available, the Springboot, I can access the application through the URL.
Okay. Okay. Because a lot of starters is there in Springboot. Okay. Okay. Whatever you need, you can add the artifacts. Okay. So we added in the dependency PAM file. So how to exclude some dependencies? How to exclude?
Yeah, we want to exclude few dependencies.
Yeah, I don't want, for example, test. I don't want. How to exclude?
You don't want test.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the pom.xml itself, there is a tag named exclude.
Okay.
So there we can give our exclusion list.
Okay. What is the difference between at rest controller and at request mapping?
At rest controller, it will have two things. One is at controller and response body. At what you said, request mapping.
Yeah.
Request mapping. It will map the request. What request is coming? It will map the request which is given in the URL.
Okay. So, what are the default servers available in Springboot?
Yeah, by default, it will be Tomcat.
Okay.
So if you want to exclude that, we can exclude, and we can give our own service.
Okay. So by default, Tomcat, ZT, this server was available. So I want to exclude this and add it to some other like JBoss, some other server I want to add. Then is it possible?
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
So we can exclude.
Okay. So what is connection pool? Obviously required our application connected to any one database like any Postgres or whatever DB. Then how did you maintain this connection pool? Kingsley?
Yes.
Okay, then go ahead.
So for the connection pool, by default, what we do is we will create connection using this properties file, application properties file.
Okay.
So there we will declare all the data source related information.
Okay.
And also the dependency whatever we required for connection. If suppose I want JPA related and Oracle related jars, it will be added in the pom.xml.
Okay.
So whenever I request, the connection will be automatically generated with the this repository class interface. But connection pool, I'm not sure how we can.
Okay.
Maybe in the properties file itself we can set the
property files itself I'm asking. So we need to set some min and max.
Yes. I don't remember properly, but I remember in properties file only I used to set.
Okay. But you are aware of that one, right? Okay.
Yes. I have gone through, come across that, but not sure exactly.
Fine. So in the form file, so what is the usage of Springboot Maven plugin? what is the usage? So it is
Spring
Springboot Maven plugin. We need one artifact.
Spring.
Yeah, we need one artifact ID. So this is important plugin that is required.
Yes,
So
yes. See, I used to declare that inside the inside this form.xml.
okay,
So at the bottom,
okay,
I've declared that.
okay,
So what it does is,
okay,
I have used it for this version controlling.
okay,
So I will create a cloud version. I will declare a cloud version property,
okay,
and this Maven plugin will pick the versions
okay,
automatically for each and every dependencies.
okay. So logs. So how did you configure a log in Spring Boot? So every application required logs. So
Yeah.
that we can track the error. So how did you configure log level?
See, since we are using microservices,
Okay,
I use Cloud Sleuth.
okay,
So with the use of Spring Cloud Sleuth, uh, I will add the dependencies,
okay,
Spring Cloud Sleuth and Zipkin
okay,
dependency, and also in this SLF4J.
okay,
So once that is done, I can create logs inside our classes,
okay,
and if I call a log dot error log dot warning, a trace ID and span ID will be generated.
okay,
So I can track the transaction using this trace ID. It will unique for all the microservices.
okay, okay. Have you worked using JSON?
JSON.
Yeah. What is the
Yes.
usage of JSON?
Yeah, JSON is like an object uh, oriented structure of the data.
Okay,
So before JSON, we were using XMLs.
okay,
So JSON based structure is very clear
okay,
and easy to transfer the data.
okay. How to convert string a JSON object into string object?
Yeah, I have used this object mapper.
Okay, okay,
So with that, I will convert.
okay, fine. So in the Spring Boot, so what's the profile? So we have three type of profiles. Then what is the usage? Can you list out the profile and what is the usage?
The profiles in the sense, are you asking about the active profile we used to set in the application of properties?
Yes.
Yeah, so whenever we are working in different type of environments, we'll have a separate properties file. So at that time, we will set the active profile
Okay,
as the we will set name, if suppose dev or QA or SIT like that based on the environment.
okay, okay,
So that can be modified whenever which environment we are deploying our application.
okay. So which build tool you are using? Like Maven or Gradle?
Maven.
Maven. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So have you configured any SSL like certificate related thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is the usage of that one, like key store?
Yeah, so in the sense, for creating a certificate, we are having a separate website.
Okay.
So there, if we request a certificate, that certificate Once we get the certificate,
Okay.
We will go to the browser
Okay.
and go to the settings, and we'll add the certificate into that.
Okay.
So our application will be secure. So whenever we are trying to hit our application with the certificate, the certificate will be validated, and if it is not correct, we will not be able to hit the endpoints.
Okay. So how did you handle exception in Springboot?
Yeah, exception we are using a controller advice,
Okay.
the exception handler.
Okay.
So whenever any error has been thrown,
Okay.
it will come to our controller advice class.
Okay.
And then each and every exceptions will be having a method, and that method will
Okay.
go. Yeah.
Okay. So in the front end developers, they are sending some request body. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, how did you get that in controller? So
In the controller,
any annotations available?
yes, that request body is there.
Okay.
So whatever the class name, we will get based on that.
Okay.
So it will set the parameters.
Okay. So how did you validate like password, like username, some length? Then in controller itself, we need to some validation. Then how did you achieve this?
Yeah, we use this validation framework.
Okay.
I'll use this. I'll add the dependency.
Okay.
Dependency, and I will declare at validated,
Okay.
and I will create at valid.
Okay.
Annotation, and I have used my own custom annotations for validation also.
Okay. Have you applied regex, regular exception?
Yes.
Expression. Okay. Okay.
Yes, I have applied.
Okay. So how to configure Swagger? So
For Swagger, we have to add the dependency
okay.
of Swaggers, and I have to declare at Swagger config,
Okay.
and I have to overwrite a method. And if I go and hit after that, if I go and hit the URL with swagger-ui.html,
Okay.
I'll be able to see all the endpoints.
Okay. Fine. So have you worked Springboot Starter JPA?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the difference between CRUD repository and JPA repository? What's the difference?
The CRUD repository is default. We can use only the methods whatever that is available.
Okay.
But in JPA repository, it is dynamic.
Okay.
So if we
Your voice breaking.
a particular so CRUD repository, we'll be able to do only the things like insert, update, delete, those CRUD operations only.
Okay.
But in JPA repository, we can create our own method. We can overwrite. We can create our own implementation methods.
Okay.
We can call it.
Okay. Kingsley?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, fine. So what is the usage of at the query annotation?
query annotation, we can create our own query.
Okay.
Manually, we can write the query
Okay.
and we can call that method.
Okay.
It will be at the top of the method.
Okay.
Is met and query.
Okay. So in the JPA itself, how did you apply pagination concept? Like
There is an interface called pagination and sort, and with the use of implementing that interface, we can do it.
okay. What is that name? Like what is that name?
Yeah, pagination sorting. Sort.
Okay.
Pagination and sort.
Okay. So what is the use of at the rate of entity annotation?
At the rate of entity, it represents the table.
Okay.
So whenever we are going to send some information to the database,
okay.
We will put this data into this entity format only.
Okay.
So our data can be placed inside entity, and we can pass this entity into the DMO methods.
Okay. Okay. So how did you order by your query? For example, you have applied like find all. Then I want to sort by like descending order or sorting order. Then how did you apply this using JPA?
Using JPA.
Yeah. We have database data like employee table. You pitched all the data. Then I want to sort like age, like that.
Okay. Order by date. I used this predicate for where conditions.
Okay.
I have created criteria.
Okay.
And order by there itself we can give using criteria.
Have you used native query?
Native query.
Yeah. If you use native query, earlier I asked, right? That question is possible if you use native query.
Okay.
Or else using JP.
No.
Okay.
Mostly dealing with this MyBatis and all those stuff. Yeah.
But JPA is more reducible code. Only that configurable later on. Okay. What is the difference between find by ID and find one?
Find by ID and find one.
Yes.
Find one will return only one data.
Okay.
But find by ID, it will bring multiple records.
Okay. Okay. You should pass any param?
Sorry?
We should pass any param like find by ID. We should pass any values.
Yes, we have to pass the ID value.
Okay. So, can you tell me the list of like mapping, ORM mapping? What are the mappings available? So we have 4 type of mappings. Can you list out?
Yes. Yeah, one to one, one to many.
Okay.
Many to one, many to many.
Okay. So can you explain any one of like many to one? Then how did you write the entities like?
Yeah. So suppose we are having a situation like many employees are getting bonus.
Okay.
So it will come under many to one.
Okay.
So at that time, we can have a bonus class.
Okay.
So so we can create a many to one mapping
Okay.
for the up of the bonus class,
Okay.
and inside the bonus class, we employee
Okay.
one to many.
Okay.
Bonus is for many employees, like that we can set.
Okay.
And we can have our this joint column.
Okay. Okay. Joint column or joint table? What is the annotation we are
Joint
using?
column.
Joint column. Okay. Good.
Joint column. At
Okay.
joint column.
Okay. Suppose we have moved to like dev environment or some other environment, so all the database you updated. I want to update additional 2 columns in the employee table. Then how did you, right, without touching database? So how did you update that one?
Come again?
Yeah. In the employee table,
Okay.
we moved into some environment like dev or post production or production, whatever environment. So
Okay.
we cannot have some permissions. So how did you, without touch the database, then how did you update like extra some other columns like employee
You
join
need to
date? Yeah, I mean
you need to create some more columns, extra columns.
yeah. Is it
Without
possible
touching.
to Is it possible in the JPA or Hibernate?
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
We can create our own creational queries we can write,
Okay.
but that is not advisable
Okay.
to
Okay.
write in Java first.
Okay. Have you worked Hibernate?
Yeah, very long back.
Very long. Okay. Okay. So, what is the difference between session and session factory?
The session factory is used to create the sessions.
Okay.
It's a factory of it is a factory of it will generate and give the session.
Okay.
So with the use of session, we will open the session, we will connect to the database,
Okay.
and we will do all our operation.
Okay. So, what is the purpose of lazy loading?
Lazy loading sometimes. So if we are in a situation we don't want to create objects uh, for a particular class at the time of whenever we request, then an object can be created.
Okay.
So at that situation, we can annotate our bin as a lazy at lazy.
Okay. Dialect. So, what is the usage of dialect?
Yeah, dialect is used to represent what type of forum we are using.
Okay.
So, what type of database we are using.
Okay.
So, with the use of that, uh, it will be useful at the time of migration. If suppose we are going to use MySQL out of Oracle,
Okay.
then we can change it.
Okay.
So the query generation will happen based on that.
Only dialects need to change, it will automatically reflect into a database, different database, right?
No, we need the dependency.
Okay.
and we need the this the way how we are hitting the this URL format also, like which type of server, like server, thin server or thick server. Likewise, we have how we are going to access it. So that also must be changed.
Okay. Have you creating your own entity or anything tools you have to use to create entity classes?
For entity classes, we are creating our own only. We are manually.
Okay. Because some tools available, Hibernate like tools plugin. Okay.
So since we are, since we are using MyPatis, mostly not.
You aware of that Hibernate tools Eclipse plugin?
Hibernate?
Yeah.
No. I haven't come across Hibernate.
Okay. What is the usage of JNDI?
Java naming character interface.
Yes.
I have used it very long back using this version.
Okay.
There will be a tag named JNDI.
Okay.
I used to configure. Very long back I used JNDI. Character interface.
Okay. So, what's the difference between get and load?
What come again?
What's the difference between get and load methods?
Get and load. Get used to get the information from the database.
Okay.
And load also will do the same thing.
Okay.
But so one will be acting like it will be fetching from the cache memory.
Okay.
One will always go and keep the database.
Okay. Have you worked with the criteria query?
Yes.
Okay. So, can you list out some criteria query methods?
How I will use to create this query.create criteria.
Yes.
Create criteria.
Okay.
Criteria I will use to create a predicate. Inside the predicate, I will mention all the where conditions.
Okay.
And add this predicate into the criteria.
Okay. Have you worked with Spring Security?
Yes.
Okay. So how did you authenticate like different type of role level? Like front end users ask to admin have some type of menu access. Then user wants to some menu access. Then how did you authorize different type of roles?
See, I'm using a key clock server.
Okay.
So the key clock server, there is a tab for roles, setting the roles. Okay. I will create the user. For that user, we can set the roles for that users.
Okay.
And in our security configuration classes, we used to configure using web security configure adapter class. Okay. So in that class, there will be two different types of configure methods. Okay. One is mainly since we are dealing with the JWT, we are dealing with authorization.
Okay.
So inside this authorization, we will set each and every endpoint. Like we can define the endpoint with the regular expression.
Okay.
So there I will set the authorization, and also if any role specific also I can mention there, like permit
Okay.
any role, or for this particular role I can set.
Okay. Then, so have you worked with JWT?
Yes.
Okay. Then, for example, front-end users, they are sending username password, so they want like some 1 hour interval token. Then how did you achieve this logic?
So mostly we are not dealing with front-end application.
Okay.
We are dealing with microservice to microservice communication.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what we
Anyway,
do
fine.
is,
Like microservice to microservice also fine. So
yeah,
I
yes.
want to return one token, then set it some interval, time interval,
Okay.
so that he can access within 1 hour using same token, right? Then
Yeah.
how did you achieve?
Yes.
Any steps? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. For generating the token, we will send the client ID, client secret, username and password. So with this information, I will hit the token URL pointer. So the authorization server will give us an access token.
Okay.
With the access token, we will pass this access token as a bearer token inside the authorization tab. And if we pass, based on that time duration, it will check the authorization. Will check the server will check the time duration of that particular token. If it is eligible, it will allow.
Okay. What's the usage of pre-authorized annotation?
Pre-authorized annotation.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the configuration class, if we set pre-authorize and we set a method, that method will execute before authorizing. Before yes.
Okay. Have you worked with
OAuth 2.0?
Okay. So how to authenticate like from to communication? Then how to do handle that using a OAuth?
Yeah, by default, this JWT we are using with OAuth dependency only.
Okay.
But there are a lot of different types of flows for OAuth.
Okay.
One is if we are trying to log into an application, sometimes some other, for example, if I want to log into an application, I don't want to register for that application. So without doing that, I can go via some other my trustable websites like Gmail or Facebook, like that.
Okay.
So we can do that. I have read theoretically, but I have not had some experience on it.
Okay. So how did you encode like a password encoding and decoding? So obviously required password hiding mechanism. So how did you implement that one, like password encoding and decoding?
Yes. So by default, we have we'll be configuring in the uh, in this configuration class itself,
Okay.
security configuration class itself.
Okay.
There we'll have this vcrypt
Okay.
encoding mechanism.
Okay. So yeah, Kingsley. Then how did you maintain code?
Yeah, for code quality,
Okay.
I use it for our development purpose. I use Jacaco.
Jakarta.
So
Okay.
yes, there if we add the dependency, we'll be able to see the code coverage.
Okay.
We have to cover in the JUnit,
Okay.
and we have configured Sonar Cube also.
Okay.
There we'll see the code smells, everything. We'll clear all the critical, minor, major issues.
Okay. So you have experience with team handling?
No, I don't have experience in team handling,
Okay.
but if I get a chance, I'll do that.
Okay. Okay. Currently, you are working with like sprint-based project or normal?
Microservices.
Okay. Okay. No, I'm asking what I'm asking, like agile methodologies or
Yes,
like
agile
normal
methodology.
SPA. Okay. Okay.
Agile methodology.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay, Kingsley. So we'll go move to like Java next. So I covered almost framework related
Okay.
questions. Okay. So what are the versions currently you are working? Core Java.
Which version?
Yeah, yeah. Which versions you are working on?
Java 8.
Java 8. Okay. So can you list out the new features of Java 8?
Yes. Function interface,
Okay.
Lambda expression,
Okay.
Stream API,
Okay.
collectors,
Okay.
optional interface.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the usage of at functional interface? What's the usage of that
Yeah.
annotation? Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Function interface is used to declare an interface, not like before, like interface. Now, with the use of add functional interface, we can have additionally static methods and default method and one abstract method.
Okay.
So, this can be used in a Lambda expression,
Okay. Okay.
and we can implement our own method.
Okay. So what's the usage of optional in Java 8?
The optional mainly the problem in handling null pointer exception, handling null check.
Okay.
Uh, we can use this optional.
Okay. So what's the default methods?
Yeah, default methods is implemented methods.
Okay.
So whenever we are implementing these interfaces,
Okay.
it will be the base implementation of that particular method. If we want, we can override it.
Okay. So can you list out some methods? Datetime API.
Datetime API.
Yeah. Yeah.
Datetime.
Yeah. Yeah. The Java 8 introduced new date and time here. Earlier we used Java new of date, right? So in the Java 8 introduced like date and time API. You aware of that one?
No, I
Okay.
have used this
Scheduler. Okay.
the Quartz API,
Okay.
like that
Okay.
for on jobs. But date time, I have used this new date only, not specific in Java 8. I have not used.
Because it's very good features introduced Java 8. So
Okay.
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 Okay. Fine. So streams. Okay. So one scenario based question. Okay. We have employee list, like each employee objects have like employee name, role name, so user ID, age, like that. Okay, so I want to group by like role name. So how did you achieve this logic? So I want the final output is group by role.
Okay. So we can take that list.
Okay,
List
so,
dot.
yeah, list already there. So we should apply the logic. I want to grouping by them role name.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will take this list class.
Okay.
List collection. List dot stream of.
Okay.
We have grouping by method is there.
Yeah.
So with that, I will pass the collection and take the role name.
Okay.
You will get.
Okay. So same similar kind of logic. Okay. So we have user list. Okay. So I want to fetch specific user value only. Then how did you fetch specific? For example, Kingsley. So that user values only I want. Then how did you fetch?
So we can use a filter.
Okay.
And inside the filter, I will use a predicate saying username is equal to Kingsley.
Okay. So same similar kind of logic questions. Okay, I want to fetch all the username using comma delimiter. Then how did you achieve this logic? For example, 100 users, yeah, all users appending with comma separator. I want to appending with comma delimiter shown in the single string. Yeah.
Yes, I have did it. Like for each, you can dot append.
Okay.
With that, we can add this delimiter inside append.
Okay. This is old way, right? I'm asking Java 8 using Java 8. So old.
Yeah, Java 8.
Okay.
Yeah. This for each, right? In stream only. Okay. Stream dot stream of dot for each. Okay. That particular method name, which we are going to get. Like we can have the for example, employee dot get name. Okay. Dot get name. After that, dot append with the name.
Okay. So did you append two different lists in single array list? So we have two array list. So I want to append with single converted into single array list. Then how did you achieve?
So we can use flat map.
Okay, flat map. So what is the usage flat map?
It will combine the two results of two streams.
Okay.
And it will give us the result.
Okay. So what is the usage of stream dot of OF? What is the
stream dot
OF? Yeah. What is the purpose of that one?
Stream dot off. No.
Okay.
Stream dot off.
Okay. So we have like employee list. One more scenario question. Okay, just scenario only. So yeah, we have employee list. Each employee have some like reward points, or whatever it is. So I want to sum all the employees rewards points. So finally, I want to summarize rewards points. Then how did you achieve this logic?
Okay.
I want to sum all the employees reward point. Finally, I want to total.
Okay.
We don't know. Infinitive list is there. And then how did you calculate?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have sum by option.
Okay.
We have method
Okay.
for that.
Okay. Sum of method. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Fine. So what's the difference between tree map and hash map?
So tree map is ordered. Hash map is not.
Go ahead, Kingsley.
Yeah.
So what's the difference
So
between tree map and hash map?
yes, tree map is ordered,
Okay.
and the hash map is not ordered.
Okay.
So it will not have the and the main thing. So the structure, how it stored.
Okay.
Whenever we are going to read some data, so at
Okay.
that time tree map will fetch the data easily.
Okay. Okay. So what is the default size of map?
Default size of map is 16, 0 to 15.
So what's the load factor?
Load method.
No. What is the load factor value?
The load factor value.
It is starting
16.
with 0 point. It is starting with 0 point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
0.
I will give you clue also. Yeah, tell me.
0 to 15.
Okay. Okay, fine. So can you explain the concurrent hash map? What is the usage?
Yeah, concurrent hash map is used. So whenever multiple threads are trying to access the hash map, if we use concurrent hash map,
Okay.
it will not throw error.
Okay.
Concurrent modification exception will not be thrown.
Okay. So what is the difference between fail safe and fail fast?
A fail fast is the best example is hash map.
Okay.
So whenever multiple threads are trying to access, it will fail.
Okay.
So concurrent hash map is fail safe.
Okay. So next awareness question only. So what is the current version released in Oracle Java? Currently we are so many people using Java 8 only. So they are releasing many versions after that Java 8. So what is the current version?
I believe it crossed 16.
16. Okay. But still we are working with Java 8 only. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Just awareness question only, Kingsley. Up to Java 8 only enough. So I hope I asked almost covered the framework and Java. So Java, a lot of questions there, but we don't have time. Okay. So you want to ask anything, Kingsley?
So yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So this is for which location you are hiring?
Hiring. This is Soling Nallur.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. I will give feedback to Rajesh. Sorry. What's that HR name? Okay, I will give feedback. Maybe she will contact with you.
Okay.
Yeah, Kingsley. Thanks for your time. Yeah, thank you. Bye. Bye.